Professor Franklin Cudjoe. I told you earlier that they are one of 4 CSOs. So Imani, Copec Ghana, Instaper, I don't know how that, the IES, they've come together and they made a submission to government on which taxes to target and how government can significantly reduce some levies and taxes to provide some relief to the average consumer of petroleum products and largely to the average Ghanaian because of the pass-through effect of the petroleum products. When the prices go up, it affects inflation negatively. Mr. Cudjoe, thank you very much for your time and a good morning to you.
Good morning to everybody listening.
I hope you're well this morning.
God has given us the beauty to really bask in His glory.
I can hear you, but you sound a bit distant. It's not so clear.
Hello.
Well, I guess you're on the move.
Yeah, could you repeat yourself?
Yes, I'm asking if you're on the move because I can hear you, but it's not so particularly clear.
Okay, listen, I can hear you, but I know what is happening. Let me take me off the screen and then.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, very clearly. Thank you very much. Okay, so you are working with some other CSOs to come up with some proposals from government. First, why did you decide to perhaps go into what you think government should do?
Oh, well, I think like every responsible Ghanaian, maybe an organization that obviously talks about the country's finances, and in this case, even the issue of energy. We thought it wise that we should also contribute to the conversation. I mean, everybody is talking. I suspect every Ghanaian has a view, and that must not be diminished. So we thought that, 4 of us thought that why not? If we could speak with one voice and then suggest to government what we think on behalf of the Ghanaian, why not? So that's the reason why we did that. And besides, we are keenly watching these numbers. We've been watching these numbers for years. And so, at least now that we have an issue like this, somehow it's important to make a point. And so that's what we did.
Now, share with us your thinking on which levies or taxes should be targeted and how much effect that will have.
Well, excuse me. Well, there are a number of, this country has a number of taxes that sometimes do not make sense, right? We've kept some of them. We find them in the petroleum sector. I don't want to name so many of them, but if you take, for instance, the MPA price builder, for instance, if you look at the UPPF, well, people suggest that the UPPF is helpful because it helps in making sure that the hinterlanders are able to get fuel. Well, the reality of it really is that we all know what the UPPF has actually been encouraging, and it's not a good thing. And to think that the UPPF is almost 1 cedi, when in actual fact, more than half of it gets unaccounted for, it's a bit of a problem. Anyway, so we thought that should be looked into. The 1 cedi that the Minister of Finance suggested at some point, I forgot what name he gave it again. I forgot it. Do you remember the name? The stabilization something? I forgot it. Anyway, 1 cedi, and he said up to a point that it may get to a point where he will stop. Well, it looks as if we never got it to that point. But there have been times that I suspect even before this war started, the economy seems to be on a good footing, isn't it? I mean, inflation, if you look at the numbers are looking good. At that point, maybe you expected to come back and tell us that, okay, look, at this point, I may cut back and do all of that. But anyway, he didn't. But now there's trouble in the Middle East, and somehow it's impacting everybody. Naturally, you wouldn't be asking too much of the government to do ABCD because this is a global thing, right? And especially when at least they've been a bit disciplined enough to hold the economy so that the other fundamentals are not so out of touch, out of gear, so that we could have been affected more than like we were affected during the MPP days. So somehow you want to probably give them some benefit of the doubt. But as it continues, it piles. I mean, the pressure piles. And it's important that we look at some of these handles that were promised us, that they'll be looked into at some point. And I think this is the time we look into that right now. We need to move beyond the rationalization that the one city extra is bringing in so much revenue, so we should probably be careful how we deal with that one. So I think that handle too must be halved. We think having that one handle from 1 city to 50 pesos is fine. And I'm sure the finance minister can find ways and means of plugging the loophole. The other ones, I mean, there's a suggestion that the bus, for instance, bus has this 12 pesos bus margin. Frankly, much as I understand what bus does, unfortunately, I'm not too sure they need all the 12. And the government will be probably wrong to take all the 12 away. I suspect what they want to do is to do some gradual scraping and then find justification for why the rest should stay. So we suggested that should also be shaved off by half. So it should be 6 pesos, so that the bus keeps 6 pesos. Because I understand they use that for infrastructure development. We need to understand what that means in itself, because we really need to interrogate that. So, see, there are a number of these taxes handles that we think we should look into. I think I'll give you a few of them. And so this was the reason that for coming up with some of these interventions. And we think cumulatively we could save about 1.65 cities for the Ghanaian. Some have said it's too much. I don't know, but well, we think it should be for just 2 months, and then we evaluate and see if it helps or not. So others are suggesting 6 weeks, and others are suggesting 1 month, while praying that the war does not escalate. But I think 2 months is a better window for us to do, and 1.65, it's not so bad for the Ghanaian.
I see. Very interesting maths that you've worked. Then you are also okay. So I know for you, on many occasions you've looked at the revenue handles of government when a government is generating enough revenue, among others. You know how these things can affect budget. Did you also look at the impact of it on government's purse and what government can do over this period?
Well, at the end of the day, the things government do are important, but whatever they do, if the impact is, I don't know how to. I like to say something, but let me just say that. Look, this is also impacted. If the government decides that they need money to do a particular project which will benefit a particular area and not the entire country, well, people will ask questions. But this factor that affects everybody is like a subsidy for everybody. That's more impactful than probably any other project that they want to do, depending on if it is. Of course, it depends on the article, the reason for that project. So it behoves our government to come and tell us that, look, if we give you this extra relief, it will cost us in this area. They should give us a panoply of investment they're making, and then suggest to us that, look, if they give you 1 city, this is the impact on this other project. They should leave it for us to judge, to rationalize and judge which project that should stay. Because some projects can actually stay. It's not everything you need to do at the moment. You understand what I mean? So, you suggesting that it will impact government revenue, it will affect other projects, it's for government to actually convince us that, look, it will affect the building of a chief compound or something. Then we tell you why do you want to stop chief compound? Why do you want to, for instance, continue something like I'm looking for some examples that may not be so important, right? There are many projects that we want to undertake, but it's not all of them that they need to undertake at the go, right? If there are challenges, you stay off a few and then make sure that you prioritize. So that's what I think I'll do as a Minister of Finance. I won't come and tell you that, oh, it will impact my finances, and so I get more. No. I'd rather come and tell you that I'll give you reasons why I think this project should delay a little bit, and then the other one should be prioritized. I think that's what I'll do, because poor impacts everybody negatively. You know that, right? So this will be the most universal way of solving everybody's problem than to solve a sectarian problem which can stay or which can delay. So that's what I'll say to you.
And I know I've known your views on things like subsidies, and the impact on government.
Sorry, say that again. You said you know what?
I'm saying that I've heard your views in the past on things like subsidy. For you to be pushing this, I'm wondering why you think this is very important. The government gives the Ghanaians some relief.
Well, at the end of the day, these are uncertain times. That's the question. That's the issue here. First of all, I've never said subsidies are bad all the time. If subsidies are done in a way that affect, they become special interest, according rent seeking, that's the problem. And indeed, sometimes subsidies and how do you call it, the outcomes we get from subsidies actually do not help. It's like giving subsidies on gas. Eventually, those who need it most will not get it. You understand? So, those ones you need to understand the conversation. So we are not blind against subsidies in total. But see, these are uncertain times, and I think that every government wants to be seen to be responsible, right? So they want to price in these uncertain times. I look at our neighbors in Asia, who are doing far more because they impacted more than us, right? Every time people to take off wearing whatever jackets during conversations on TV or radio, they reduce the air conditions. What have we done here? We've not had the Energy Commission come to tell us that Ghanaians, be careful how you use power, reduce the usage of power. Nothing. Absolutely zero. You have not heard anything about responsible power usage. But our colleagues in East Asia and the rest are doing so. I'm sure you've heard it, right? You've seen it.
Yeah.
Now, so depending on how you want to respond, that's exactly how you get a response back. But I'm just saying that the most important thing is that these are certain times. Nobody thought this war could happen, and the impact. And by the way, the impact of this war far outweighs that of Russia-Ukraine. By the way, if you realize that Russia-Ukraine is still fast, we still have this. It's like a double whammy. And so the point is, nobody expected it. That is why governments are there, so that you make, how to call it, you save for a rainy day. And that's how the government has decided that, and the president was swift in asking cabinet to come up, the two ministers to come up with copious, which I call it, reasons why the Ghanaians should be shielded at some point. So it's an important conversation. It's not about being against subsidies.
Great. Before I let you go, on a different matter, I'm sure you have heard this by this time, because it seems there's a caution from the IMF that all countries must be careful not to immediately start increasing policy rates to deal with
policy rates?
Yes, increasing policy rate to deal with what they suspect to be the inflationary impact of the increase in fuel. What do you think about that advice?
Well, the IMF, when they said that, they added a moniker, which was to say that, well, this is actually if the war goes on for 2 years. That's what they said. But of course, they are also saying that be careful how you spend your money, because this war may not be a good reason for you to start misbehaving. Governments are interested in catastrophes. Most governments like politicians like that. A catastrophe, then they try to milk it and then take advantage. That's what the IMF was talking about. I was not talking about general policy of relieving the Ghanaian if it becomes necessary that you've made savings and you can cover for a rainy day. Why do we have import cover policies? Don't we have that? We have it in our country. So that's why said the IMF, how to call it, warning. I suspect that someone wants to every government to be careful how it plans its fiscal policy anyway. So I wouldn't rely so much. The IMF was just giving a general advice. And they even had a 2-year horizon. So they said, don't go and do stuff that would mean that would suggest that you are saving the day, but after fact, you'll be worsening the case.
Mr. Cudjoe, thank you. Thank you for speaking to us.
Right, and about that, can I add a little point before we go?
Okay.
I've seen that my good friend Ato is basking in the glory in Washington, the World Bank, and people are giving him props.
Yes.
It is very good. I think he's done well, and but this is when adult supervision has been in the room. If we're in an IMF program, we tend to behave well, and Ato has really been disciplined. We hope that discipline will continue after the IMF leaves. But the IMF should not leave now. I think they should stay a year and a half more. For the simple reason that I don't trust our politicians to be fiscally responsible. It will not be at all. It's with the pressures coming from all corporates. Oh, now the IMF is gone. Already, the things are here. The IMF is, oh, it says because of IMF, we can do ABCD. So the IMF goes, and then we start spending like Arabian princes again when we are just village champions in our backyard. I suspect we should be careful. But the last administration did the same thing. Promised the IMF that they will get off. In fact, they told the IMF they will get off much earlier, which they did. And again, the things they promised they will do, public sector reform, they did zero. They said to increase oil revenue, barrels of oil up to 1 million barrels a day. They didn't have a single barrel in their 8 years. So we should be careful what we wish for. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Thank you. That's Mr. Franklin Cudjoe, is founding president, Imani Africa. Now, he's introduced another aspect. He thinks the IMF should be here for 1.5 more years because he does not trust Ghanaian politicians to be disciplined. So, well, that's an interesting one. Well, taking us to 54 minutes past 8 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5 FM. So we're just speaking to Mr. Franklin Cudjoe. What he's talking about is captured on the front page of the Daily Graphic of today. At time